This is entry 10 of Expedition to Handheld. I'm Adam Patrick Murray.
And I'm Russ Crandall. We'll be your guides on this journey of handheld gaming discovery.
Buckle up. We're hitting 65. Russ, I'm back.
You are back. It is good to see your smiling face.
Yeah, I'm here. I had to take a little bit of detour. Unfortunately, my cat passed away, so I was dealing with that. But I'm really glad that you had Mr. Dweeb on. That was fun discussion. I got to tell you what, I didn't, even though I edited the podcast, and posted it. I didn't actually listen to the whole podcast until it was already up in the feeds. So I got to experience Expedition Handheld as a listener for the first time. And it was fun. And yeah, Mr. Dweeb was, what a fun chat.
He is a champ, man. It was awesome.
Yeah.
But before we say anything else, I'm sorry for your loss with the cat too. And it was like I'd mentioned, it was my first time hosting a podcast. I was a little bit nervous, and I think it was great. A little bit got away from me, like when I was like, for the intro part, I was like, I just wrote the word root beer, and then we talked for 6 minminutes about root beer, and I was like, oh crap, we got to talk about handhelds, But otherwise, yeah, he was awesome.
It made me thirsty for root beer.
Nice.
I like root beer, and yeah, no, I was bummed I wasn't able to join because I would love to meet Mr. Dweeb myself, and it was a really good discussion, except for somebody was in the chat trying to say that you guys are the same people, like all you did was turn on a second camera, and
that goes way back. Yeah, okay. So the joke is that we're the same person, even though our hands don't look anything alike. And we did an April Fool's joke together last year to kind of make fun of that, and even put April Fool's in the title and stuff, and people believed it. And so, yeah, the running joke is that when I'm hosting or whatever, I'm like this, and you can just see the top half of me, and then down below I've got a special shirt that's got striped sleeves on it, and I'm also doing the hands at the same time. And so, yeah, I don't know what's up with that.
That was funny. No, it was a good time. Good to hear the thoughts and opinions. Especially towards the end, I really loved the discussion, how you guys were talking about following people because you love hearing about their tastes and their journey and that kind of stuff. And completely right. I feel like I follow certain creators, sure, for the information, but also just to hear more about what they do and what they like to cover. And Mr. Dweeb's roundups of retro games.
He's so good at that.
Yeah. That's probably the first time I saw him too. Was from a game roundup, something like that. But
he does one every couple of weeks, and they're always great.
Yeah, awesome. So but like I said, unfortunately, I was off last week. And yeah, Guthrie. I don't think Guthrie has ever appeared on this show. Maybe not.
No, not in this one.
Would have been at home. Yeah. He showed up on my other podcast, Dual Boot Diaries, plenty because he hated Linux people and would come in and just start yelling at us. Man. But yeah, it was a rough week last week. I don't need to get into it. He was old, but it was time, and work through it. And this doesn't need to be a long deep discussion or anything, but also it made me think that handhelds have actually always been kind of with me through a lot of periods of grief. Growing up in the military family, I'm a Air Force brat. I ended up moving around a lot, not having a lot of friends. I think I did the math at some point years ago, and I think I moved about an average of every 9 months. So It was just a lot of moving, and just kind of bouncing around from place to place. But when I got my first console, which was mine, my not a family member's or something, was the Game Boy, the original Game Boy, and that thing. Even though I had other home-based consoles after that, the Super Nintendo and stuff, those were always tied to a TV, and most of the time it was in a shared living room space. Sure. That kind of thing. So having a handheld with me definitely got through some of the harder parts in my life. And then even last week, I had my DSi, I was playing Advance Wars, and it was just easy to hang out with Guthrie and just kind of open up the 3DS and just play a little bit and just exist together. And then when I wanted to give them some pets or something, then I just close it up and put it off to the side. So handhelds, I through the course of last week, I realized handhelds have been kind of a constant throughout my life. So
yeah, I will add. So we talked about this offline, but we had a cat for a long time, 15 years. Her name was Chicken. And in my early videos, I used to record. My green mat was at my house, right? So I did all my recording there, and she would jump on my lap, and it would, I always did these really long-winded reviews, and so I would zoom my camera out and then show her on my lap, and I would call it a cat break, and I have these. I remember
flashing, those. Yeah, I remember those
things. Yeah, and so. I still get questions here and there. I was like, "Hey, what happened to your cat breaks?" And unfortunately, she passed a couple of years ago. It's rough, and interesting enough too is like having handhelds with you. I think I mentioned it when we did our like DS talk, but like I was hospitalized for like a month at one point, and my wife brought me a DS Lite, like it had just come out, and that honestly, man, that really helped me get through that stuff. So I totally get that as well.
Yeah. I don't. I hope maybe others are out there willing to maybe share some stories or something. But like I think maybe that's part of the reason why I just feel handhelds are so magical and fun, and I just love talking about them.
Yeah,
so,
it's beautiful. I'm the opposite, where I'm like making up for lost time, because my first handheld was a Game Boy Color that I bought after boot camp and then gave away to my sister like 3 weeks later. Was like, this thing is too addicting. And I gave it away to my little sister. And then my first actual one that I owned and kept was the original DS.
Nice. Well, speaking of the original DS, great segue, Russ. Well, I guess no segue. We're still in the intro, but I did want to show you something. I got something special here. So number one, I got inspired by Mr. Dweeb and decided to set up a second camera. Boom! Look at this. Now, I don't have the cool sleeves and colors and what did Mr. Dweeb say that material was?
I forgot the name of that special mat that he drew. Yeah.
This is actually a full length, full nerd mat. We don't even sell these anymore. This is special edition, full nerd desk mat. But yeah, so I found the original DS that I had in storage here. Unfortunately, it's worse for wear. The hinge.
No, look at that.
The hinge is real bad. Actually, the hinge is so bad that in the course of me setting up the camera and getting everything ready to show off here, the other pieces of the back fell off.
Oh my gosh.
Of the hinge part. So it literally is just kind of like wobbling in here, which is okay, because I actually kind of want to do a reshell project or something fun with this. I don't know if maybe this. I mean, it works, but maybe this is a good candidate to do something fun with it. But I don't think I've told you where I got this DS from.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So for those who don't know, the company I work for also owns GamePro. And even though I was an EGM guy, so I never read GamePro back in the day, but it's like, oh, that's awesome. GamePro is a huge deal, long running property for sure. And by the time I showed up in 2015 here, GamePro had already been shuttered, and most of the stuff had been either taken in pockets or some of the stuff we actually donated to the Video Game History Foundation here, which is awesome. But there were a couple relics that were left over that nobody wanted, and one of them was this DS. So this DS came from the GamePro era. Not only that, the DS actually wasn't empty like this. It had something that a lot of people don't know of. It had one of the locking mechanisms on it. So you can even see this on the sticker here. It says GamePro.
Yeah.
Because it's for them. And then on the bottom here, you've got some words. So do you know what this is, Russ?
I have no idea what this is.
Yeah. So back in the day, Nintendo used to send review units of games on a DS. They wouldn't just send you the cart. They would actually send a DS with the game in it, and they would lock it to the DS like this, so you couldn't take the actual cart out. So that's like that was one of their ways. And actually there was other stuff they did too. They used to they would have to come to the office and chain it to a desk so that nobody could walk away with it. There was Nintendo was definitely crazy. Draconian in some of its efforts. So I have pried this one off, obviously, so it is a little broken. You can't see anymore the locking mechanism that it used to have, but so essentially it was screwed in, which you can kind of see a little bit of the vestiges of the screws, but so the DS was screwed to this base plate, and then they would essentially lock this base plate in so that
you could get to the slot.
It did have a little hole so you could get to the charging port here. But yeah, so like it's a cool little piece of history that I definitely don't want to get rid of, and the fine print on the bottom. I don't know if you can see this. But we've got a couple games on here. One of them says it's Metroid for the March 2006 Game Pro issue, and then the other one up here is New Super Mario 4-6 print drop. I don't know what that means, but obviously Game Pro is a print magazine, so it's
so Metroid Prime Hunters, I'm assuming then, because that came out around that time, and then obviously New Super Mario Brothers. It makes sense, because those are games that I played in the summer of 2006. That was the summer I was like hospitalized for a month.
Nice. Yeah. So interesting little piece of history.
That's fascinating.
It's not like it's worth anything, but I'm going to hold on to it and do something with it for sure. And I remembered it was in the box over here, and I was like, oh, cool. I've been on such a DS kick lately that I wanted to get into it. And don't worry, we're going to talk about dual screen gaming coming right up. But before that, we should get to some news, because there's been some interesting news. And I'm really glad that you guys covered the Heritage Bundle, the gaming what was it? What was the full name?
Handheld Heritage Bundle.
Handheld Heritage Bundle, because man, that like I bought that bundle right away. So and just real glad you guys brought it up. So really cool games in there. And is it still up?
I don't think it is. I think it's gone now. Let me double check.
Because a lot of homebrew. I was looking into loading up homebrew games.
Yeah. Oh, it's still up. It says buy all for $30. There's no timer or anything on it. Oh no, 6 hours left as of making this. So no, it's gone.
Oh, sorry. By the time you get this, it's going to be gone. So hopefully
totally
you got
there.
it.
Right.
Anyway, so the first news I want to talk about, which is pretty big, there was a leak over on Tech Power Up that I am going to bring up over here, and there's going to be a link down to it in the description. So the headline reads, Intel Arc G3 Extreme makes it to handhelds in leaked MSI Claw 8 EX AI Plus retail listing. And this is written by Captain Jank. And so, there's some interesting notes in here. It seems like there was a retail listing for whatever this part was. It includes what is this, 1 terabyte of internal memory, Windows 11, not SteamOS, 8-inch display, 32 gigs of RAM, obviously Intel Arc graphics. So it looks pretty straightforward. But for the most part, for me, I was surprised to see the new Arc G3 Extreme naming convention, because we don't know, but I'm going to assume it's Panther Lake based, which has awesome graphical chops. And like what do you think from this listing? Any
it's
thoughts?
all the thing with all of this new stuff with their Intel chips and Panther Lake and everything is that it all is alphabet soup to me. Like, I don't really it's just as confusing as the AMD stuff, but I at least keep up with the AMD stuff. Intel, it's like over my head. So I'm really curious to how this is going to work performance wise. The specs, the screen, the Wi-Fi, like the 1 terabyte, the 32 gigs of RAM and stuff, all of that just seems to me like it may be the exact same shell as previously, and that they're just putting a new chip in it, because those specs look very familiar. And I'm curious to see what it looks like as a handheld. But as far as the CPU, man, I don't know anything about any Panther Lakes. I haven't tried anything. And so I've heard that it's like similar to Strix Halo on the AMD side, and I don't know how close that is. I can't wait to test it. I'm going to go in blind. What do you think?
I got a chance to do some hands-on testing at CES. I do also have other Panther Lake based devices here. I got a MSI sent over a Nook. Their MSI. Now I forget the name. The Nook, the AI plus 3 MG. I think is the name. There's actually a video over on PCWorld if you want to go check it. But I'm also doing some testing now. That one has Panther Lake based, but it is the non-X version, meaning it only has 4 GPU cores, not the full 12 GPU cores of the X versions. So that's kind of interesting to see just just what kind of chops it has
Yeah.
on that end. To be fair, that mini PC is not meant to be a gaming chip or device. It's meant to be for more productivity. So that's but I still want to just see what it's going to do. But at CES I did get to test the X9, and then which is the full 12 GPU cores, but then also the max amount of CPU cores on the Panther Lake side. We don't need to get into speeds and feeds or whatever, but the X7 is essentially still the same 12 GPU cores, but it has less CPU cores. And to tell you the truth, I guess I would have assumed that the X7 was going to make its way to handhelds.
Yeah, that's what I guess too.
Yeah, but if they're going to adopt this G3 nomenclature or something like that, this actually makes me think that maybe it's a little bit more like how AMD does, where sure they have laptop based parts, and then they kind of repurpose them, air quotes, into gaming, and that's how we got the Z series of chips. Right. So like whatever, the naming doesn't really matter. It's all about the performance at the end of the day, and we don't know. We can only kind of theorize if this is the way they're going to go. But it is interesting to have a separate naming convention on the handheld side.
Yeah, it leads me to think that, like, just jumping a couple steps ahead is like, okay, they're calling it G3, and sure, it might be that X7, like, with maybe they pare something down, maybe some MPU thing, but they does say AI in the name of the handheld too. But then I'm thinking, okay, well, what's the next AMD chip for handhelds going to be? They've already done the Z2 Extreme, so is it going to be a Z3 Extreme? Did they pick G3 to match the Z3? It's like the whole Xbox 360 versus Xbox 2. Like, I wonder if that's like they named it to do that. And I'm very curious about that. Like, what is I'm curious. Yeah, like this might actually be they've always been pretty good in terms of Intel catching up to AMD, where like they finally release one, and hey, after some driver updates, it's actually pretty good. This is one where it feels like they might pull ahead of the Z2 Extreme offerings, and so that's really interesting to me, is like to see Intel jump ahead on that, and then what kind of attention is that going to get? That'll be cool.
Yeah, I mean the thing that I've always wanted is something that has the max amount of GPU performance, but then less CPU cores, right? Mm-hmm. Like especially for these gaming handhelds, like as much as I love the I think the very first, oh man, now I can't remember which device, too many devices, but the one where I felt like, okay, this thing doesn't need 16 cores or 16 threads. That's why Carrie over at the Fox is always just like, oh, hey, disable some of these CPU cores because you don't want all the power being fed into the CPU. And so like, I'm hoping maybe the configuration really pairs back on that. I mean, what this article is hypothesizing is that it's 14 cores, so 2 P cores, which are segregated off with the E cores on its own island, which is 8 E cores, and none of these have hyperthreading. And then on the low package profile, they have the 4 LPE cores. So, like, I mean, I bet a handheld could run with just 8 E cores just fine. Yeah. Like maybe even 8, maybe even 4 E cores and 4 LPE cores would be enough. I don't know, but that's the thing I worry about, is that we're over-indexed on CPU power, but the GPU is getting so powerful now. So hopefully, I mean, but that's also a tuning thing. Hopefully they can do better in dynamically tuning where it needs the power to go.
Yeah, and I think we're seeing something like that too on the AMD side with all the Strix Halo. So at CES, they announced like a couple additional, like besides the 395 and 385 that people are familiar with, that are like the, in the ROG Flow Z13 and stuff, they have the 392 and the 388. And the 388 in particular is the same thing, pared down CPU, but full fat GPU, or at least close to it. And that's like the remarkable part. And I remember when they announced that, I was talking to Asus and I was like, okay, so this is now going in the ROG Flow C13. You're going to make a cheaper one now? And they're like, no, it's going in a laptop. I'm like, come on, like this is a perfect handheld one. Put it in a handheld, put it in a tablet, and we haven't seen anything yet.
I mean, actually, have you seen any of those chips at all?
No, I haven't seen them. Yeah, exactly. I haven't seen them at all. Other than like sitting at a booth and at CES, I haven't seen anything.
Yeah, so that's a little weird. Also, I think there's something that people might not realize is that what happens is that these are not usually bespoke chips that AMD or Intel are making, right? These are usually chips that don't qualify for something. Like maybe this like printed on the die itself actually has 4 P cores and 8 E cores, but 2 of them didn't qualify. So they're like, oh, okay, well, it's called binning. So we'll essentially sell this as a cheaper part. The other thing that is theorized in here, or maybe I saw that somewhere else, is that, they're like, oh, yeah, maybe the NPU, this doesn't have access to the NPU, which usually means the NPU is there. It just didn't qualify.
Right.
So like instead of them printing new chips that are just for handhelds, once again, Intel and AMD both do this, they will essentially just say, oh, okay, you know what? We can still make use of these. Let's not throw them away. We'll just make these a new SKU kind of thing. So
yeah, we see it a lot with mini PCs too, especially the Chinese mini PC makers where there's a new like Ryzen chip, like 255 is what they call it. But it's really like a 7800 or 8800 that was binned and then rebranded for the Chinese market. And then they sell them to Western audiences from the Chinese manufacturers. And so you try to Google, like go on the AMD website, you look up the 255 and it doesn't exist. You know, that's where all that's coming from. Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know. I mean, either way, I love the performance of Lunar Lake. I don't have the Claw anymore. I had to send that to MSI, but I do wonder if that would have been one of my daily drivers over the course of time, because like the performance was really nice. And from what I've done testing on Panther Lake, it's not. So Panther Lake is a evolution of Lunar Lake. And so it's essentially like, oh, hey, Lunar Lake topped out at 8 GPU cores. Now you can get up to 12. Are those better, more efficient cores? Sure, a little bit, but really it's all about the fact that now you have 4 more cores and you can produce a lot more. I would definitely not say it's Strix Halo performance. But that's also because Strix Halo can go up over 100 watts. Like, you know, you can push the Strix Halo performance really high depending on the device. But also I would hazard a guess that the scaling is actually going to do really well lower end. I mean, that's what Lunar Lake was really good about. So
yeah, I agree.
The last question I have for you real quick, what if it is just the same exact shell? What if it is the AI plus or the 8 AI plus, but this is just, oh, hey, it's the same thing with a new chipset in it and a higher price? What do you think?
Honestly, it's not a bad handheld. Hardware wise, I wasn't a huge fan of like the sticks in particular. They're just a little kind of thin, like the grip around them, you know. And then also it's heavy and it's a little flat, you know, in terms of ergonomics. But that all can be fixed with like a 3D printed grip and stuff, which I never did for that one in particular. I could use it. You know, it's one of those where it isn't a joy to hold my hands like how the Legion Go S is and how the Steam Deck is. Those are like my top tier handheld PCs in terms of comfort. It's definitely a rung below that, but it's that performance. Especially, there are Strix Halo handhelds out there. You know, there's the Win 5, GPD Win 5. There's the whatever they call the Apex or whatever from 1X Player. They're also like almost $3,000. And then they have detachable batteries on the back because they can't put it all together in one housing. So the idea of having a one contained handheld that's got a lot of good power to it. I could see. Yeah, it's one of those two. I'm like you. I had to send my Lunar Lake back, but I have my original MSI Claw. I pick it up every once in a while. It's a different shell, you know, but it's still it's impressive how many updates we've gotten from Intel and how good some of that stuff's running nowadays.
Yeah, no, obviously they had the AMD version, which now that name is escaping my mind.
This the 8 AI or something like that. Yeah, I remember that one.
No, the Intel one was the AI.
Oh.
The AMD
A8.
one was...
It was the A8.
A8, there we go, thank you. And like that had a new outer shell to it, but for the most part, like, I mean, same screen and you know, things like that. So I don't know. I feel like because everyone is kind of struggling with the times and the prices and things like that, I would be okay with MSI or any other company saying, hey, listen, we wanted to save cost on R&D and tooling up new shells and stuff like that. So we decided to just use the same exact shell that we've had before and just give an internal update. And maybe it's not that easy because maybe this needs a little bit more cooling. So they had to redesign a little bit of the internals. It's not just a pure processor swap. But I'm okay with that. Would you be okay with that?
Yeah, it makes sense. And I do think that we can rely on the community to help with things like ergonomics. In fact, when I went to the second MSI Claw event, like they flew me to LA to check it out and stuff, I brought my ROG Ally X with me at the time, and that had 3D printed grips on it, and I brought it to their thing. That's kind of like something you don't do, right? You don't bring someone else's handheld to the handheld showcase,
I do it all the time, and all the PR people always are just like, dude, why'd you bring the Steam Deck? Oh, man. Yeah. And I'm like, I'm sorry, I got to compare it.
Right, exactly. And so I was like, listen, just hold this one. I said, hold it with the grips on. See that difference? I was like flat versus rounded and how it fits and stuff. They're like, oh, okay, great. And then gave them the URL. I was like, now do something like this for your guys' stuff. And so that's what I'd like to see too, is like maybe some sort of added grip or some accessories. They could do something like that instead of machining and tooling a whole nother handheld. Make some accessories, put them out there, put your name on it. That might be fun too. Yeah. Otherwise, obviously Etsy can help out too.
I mean, I'm pulling a number out of my butt, but it's like, oh, hey, you know what? If we went through the rigmarole of a whole new redesign, the handheld would have been $50 more. It's like, okay, you know what? Actually, and they had to raise, if you have to raise the price anyway because of this stuff, and maybe, shaving back a little bit of it, like I'd be okay with it. So
yeah, fair.
We will see. I mean, the timing lines up conspicuously with Computex coming up, so maybe we'll see something there.
Yeah.
But I mean, it doesn't matter whether it's a Computex or not. I am very excited to get my hands on this. The performance I've seen out of Panther Lake so far has been really, really nice. And I think this is a knock out of the park in terms of handhelds. So
yeah, I think it's good, and it seems just Panther Lake seems neat. Even that I watched your mini PC video from earlier this week or last week, and my first thought was like, this will be great with like a mini PC setup because that's a chunky CPU. Then throw on a GPU like a eGPU setup thing, and that would be great. So
yeah, actually, part of my follow-up testing is to hook up that Gigabyte Aorus 5060 Ti desktop AI box, because I've actually been gaming. That's how I've been playing Pragmata through that with the mini PC and the AI box attached to it, and it is awesome.
Nice.
like that is like a killer combo. Anyway, speaking of killer combos, there are a couple new handhelds that are targeting a very specific audience, and I don't think we're the audience, but essentially, I woke up this morning and we've got a couple new retro handhelds. Let me make sure I got the name correct. This is the important. Yeah. This is the C64, no space, all caps. Right. The C64.
Weird.
And then the Spectrum, but then that does have space. Yeah. And not all caps. So these are essentially handheld versions of the Commodore 64 and the ZX Spectrum. And I mean, this looks cool, but to tell you the truth, like I've actually never used either of those, so I have like zero affinity for it. But what did you think when you saw these?
Yeah, we're definitely not the target audience for this. Even if you go to their website, like the first listing of price is in British pounds. It's not in US, and then after that it's euro, And so, we're definitely not the intended audience, which is fine, totally cool. Even looking at like each one comes with 25 games, but a micro SD card slot where you can load your own, which is really open and cool of them to do that just from the get-go. It doesn't feel like a cash grab in that sense. The screen is a widescreen, which is a little bit odd to me because I was like, there was no widescreen monitors back then, or maybe there were, but I mean, everyone had just 4x3s. And
this says it has a 4x3 IPS screen.
Yeah, like but that screen, I'm looking at it, that's a 5x3. That's
I know, right? Yeah, that doesn't look 4x3, but it says it's 4x3.
Right. I know it says it, yeah.
So maybe the renderings,
Yeah, that's possible. Because a 4x3 is going to look like a Game Boy Advance SP. You know what I mean? That's how like thin it's going to be. And so, yeah, that's one of the things too, but they'll figure it out. It's a high enough resolution that the games are going to scale fine, so I'm not worried about that. I can't remember what the width across was, but it's a 480p display, but not in 4:3. But yeah, even just looking at the games list, the 25 on each, I'm like, I don't recognize hardly any of these games from a guy with a channel called Retro Game Core. But that's just how that's how things are across the pond here for us. Is that we just these weren't prevalent. But I did have a Commodore 64 back in the day, but in the weirdest way possible. So this was like 1997, 1998. So way past its time. And I had a buddy whose older brother had a Commodore 64 and he wanted to get rid of it, just wanted it out of the house. And I said, I'll buy that for $20. And $20 was a lot back then, but I was like, oh, $20 cash. And
it's still not bad. Yeah.
Yeah. So I got Commodore 64, the screen, keyboard, all that stuff. His bin of all these floppy disks and who knows what, and then a couple books. Cause back then you had to it's full on commands just to load a game. And it's not DOS commands. It was like a totally different style of commands. I can't remember any of them anymore. But so I got that and I just messed around with it for a while and I really enjoyed it. It actually probably wasn't 97. It was 96 or so, but it was still, I was like an older teen at that point. I already had a car, like that kind of thing. Anyway, so my funny story about this is that I can't remember which Mortal Kombat game it was. It was like 2 or 3 or something. I was waiting for it to come out in the Sega Genesis and it wasn't out yet. And so I took one of those books that included some programming language and stuff. And I wrote a text version of Mortal Kombat on the Commodore 64. And I programmed it.
Dude.
And I'm like, hey, sit down and try this out. And it was just the most rudimentary commands. It was okay, it's text-based, right? So it was you Arcano, you're fighting Sonya Blade or whatever. What do you want to do first? Punch, kick, whatever. And then I had it randomly set up oh, you missed or oh, you hit. And then dude, oh, you want to do a fatality. And so I created a Commodore 64 Mortal Kombat game. It's been lost to time. I don't have any of this stuff anymore, but that was my first foray into really trying to program something on a computer. And it was just sheer boredom and just anticipation of some Mortal Kombat game.
That's funny. Yeah. I mean, I really love the stylings of these. And also is this associated with now I can't think of the handheld, the Nexus Evercade team.
No, I don't think so. It must be a license thing. I don't know how they work with these licenses anymore. Sinclair, obviously, I don't think they exist anymore. They're the ones that made the ZX Spectrum.
Or maybe they worked on the game part of it. Because I saw this because of the Evercade. I follow Evercade on Instagram and they posted the announcement of this. And so I was just like, oh, interesting. Okay. Maybe. So they're involved somehow, I guess.
Yeah. That makes sense. I mean, they're British based as well, I think. So it's it all kind of comes together. Of all the companies who are going to be into it, it's going to be them,
And actually, so I'm going to hypermegatech.com. That's the link I have down in the description. And if I scroll all the way down to the bottom, it says copyright Blaze Entertainment. Isn't that?
Oh, there we go.
The Evercade people. So
found it.
Okay.
Yeah, looking at the other products on the site, it has stuff like the Super Pocket, which was also a Blaze Entertainment thing. And so I've got one of those sitting around here somewhere too.
Also,
it's interesting.
The spec sheet on here says it's a quad core 1.2 gigahertz. It's got 256 megabyte of DDR RAM. Nice. I wonder if what else you're going to be able to play on it, but I mean, it seems probably tailor made for just these games.
Yeah. So the resolution says 840 by 480. So it would be 640 by 480 if it was 4:3. So that is a little bit wider.
Oh, weird. Okay, good catch. Oh, look at that. So, but it says 4:3, 840 by 480.
I think that's 4.3 inches. I think that's what that is.
Oh,
that's the length.
I'm reading it wrong. Oh my goodness. Okay. I am so sorry.
Okay, we got it.
Yeah, we're figuring this out, people. You know, live on camera. So, I guess the last point is $130. What do you think? That seems a little steep, but I mean, if you just really love these.
Yeah, I think there are people out there who are just they love the idea of just having one of these things and it's just kind of cool, a piece of history. My only suspicion is okay, those who really are going to be into these two consoles from the 80s may not have the eyesight to really appreciate 4.3 inches
wow,
with a computer.
Dude, Russ. I mean, putting old people on blast here, dude. Come on, man.
I'm one of them too.
We're not that young anymore.
Yeah, but still, that's kind of my worry, is that like this might be just too small of an experience for people. And then also, it's just got a D-pad and face buttons and like 4 function buttons, but many of these were keyboard-based games, right?
Yeah,
there were no
that's
joy
what I thought of
pads
too.
and stuff. And so this may not translate very well depending on the game you're trying to play. My Mortal Kombat game would be a pain to try to play on this thing.
It has a USB port, or you can pair, maybe it has Bluetooth, so you can pair a keyboard to it and just put it down, a little clamshell.
That's a lot of work compared to just emulating it on your computer. Yeah.
So anyway, cool little thing. Interesting. I'm glad it exists.
Right.
The next thing on here, it's a lossless scaling frame generator ported to Android. What the heck is going on?
Yeah, so I tested this the other day. So the folks behind that LSFG like plugin that you can use on Steam Deck, they've been working on other stuff behind the scenes. They are part of the Game Native team. And so they've been DMing me. And Game Native is the one that allows you to play PC games on Android. Okay. And they were like, yeah, we're going to try to get this implemented into Game Native. And they're still working on that. And I think it's coming very soon. But they're like, we can also just make it an APK that's an overlay. And so they released it on GitHub a few days ago. Big update yesterday, which I wasn't able to try out, but I did try the one before that. And so the way it works is you basically, you sideload it in. You can't ever go on the Play Store because all the permissions it needs, but it essentially gets in there and then you tell it which app you're going to launch next. And so you're like, okay, set up all your configurations, like how many frames like you want to upscale and stuff like that. And then say, okay, now open up the CMU app, Wii U app, right? And then it'll double the frame rate basically. And so you obviously would need a device that has a higher refresh rate screen than what's presented on the emulator. So if something is playing at 60 frames per second, you could make it theoretically 120 and then have that smooth kind of feeling, but it would require a 120 hertz screen. And there's pretty significant input delay, more than it is on PC. Like, I know that's like one of the things, is like, oh yeah, you're getting some fake frames here and it feels smoother, but it looks smoother, but feels slower, This is like significant where I was like, oh, and then again, this is an older update. And then also the artifacting, if you like move the camera around your character, you can like see multiple versions of the character because the AI is just guessing, that was rough on what I was testing. But I used Wii U as an example because that was like the one where I was like, hey, this actually is pretty neat. Playing Wind Waker HD on Wii U, locked at 30 frames per second in that game, you can make it actually look like 60.
And so what device were you using it on?
The Odin 3. So I was like, I'll just go with like the most powerful Snapdragon 8 Elite and just see what I can get top end basically. And it was working.
So since you have to launch it through that application, how would you set that up in your front end? Like
you wouldn't. You'd have to go in, start that app.
Oh.
There's a way you can have it like as an overlay, like a little icon on your screen at all times, and you just tap that and it would make it run. I don't want to see that little duck like the whole time, you know what I mean? Like, and so I just turn that off. It's not a duck, it's like some other icon, but still, it was enough where I was like, that is annoying. And so you really would just have to open the app, pick the app you're going to launch after that, and then start it up. So it's like a dedicated gaming session at that point. I tried it with Game Native as well, even though it is supposed to be coming to it natively. It's not there yet. It's not the same kind of semi-exciting experience I had on the Steam Deck from a few weeks ago when I tested that out. It's getting there, and it's so rough. You know what I mean? Like, it's just brand new, so I don't have super high expectations, but it is just cool that they're working on it, and who knows what this is going to look like a year from now.
Yeah. Well, and also like I feel like because of that limitation maybe is the wrong word, but I'm just going to say that the limitation that you have to launch it through that app, like if there's a way they can implement that in like Emulation Station or one of the front ends that you like so much, that hey, through the course of launching the game through the front end, it's going to go ahead and enable that rather than just spending 2 hours watching a Russ video to set up your AYN Thor front end to be so pretty, and then all you got to do is just open up the one app.
Yeah, exactly. It is. Yeah, there's a lot of trade-offs just by using the Android platform in the first place, and you can't use plugins like you can on the Steam Deck, And then, I mean, the developer's pretty clear on their GitHub about how much just full-on input latency is a part of the process that they are not going to be able to manage. That is just system-level latency, and so. It's not an ideal setup, but again, I'm just glad someone's working on it and trying it out.
Yeah, no, really cool. You know what else is really cool is this GB bridge. So I think this news I first saw a couple weeks ago, but I've got a link over to the Retro Handhelds guys covering this. Jim is the one that wrote this one. The headline is developer behind Game Boy colorization projects reveals groundbreaking new emulator. This thing looks cool, but I also think it's pretty controversial. Like, tell people what this is, Russ.
So it essentially is a GBA emulator, like it's running in a Game Boy Advance, but then emulates Game Boy games. And so we've already had that previously, but this one is unique in that it could potentially, instead of just trying to recreate those games, it actually is kind of like porting them over to Game Boy Advance. It's almost like, like Super Mario 64 port, how you can like put that on anything and you can do all sorts of neat things with it. It's like a recompilation almost.
Yeah, right.
This is kind of like that, where they're trying to do that on the fly. Very much early work in progress. But the idea is that, okay, if this is running a Game Boy Advance version of a Game Boy Color game, which will give you an expanded color palette, additional buttons that you could use in the game, and maybe a wider aspect ratio if the game supports like stretching it to a wider screen. Not stretching, but you showing.
And to be clear, it's not like, and you people need to hit that link in the article and go watch the GIF that's embedded in there because to get a real idea of it, but. Like, you can already play Game Boy games on a Game Boy Advance. This is not that. This is more like, oh, hey, what if the game at the time was made for Game Boy Advance? It like, instead of making it in 90, they decide to make it in 2000 or, whatever the time frames were. Like, what would the developers have done with all this color palette and wider aspect ratio and different physics, things like that. So, like, this really is a reimagining of those games, like not just a remastering. Also, to be clear, I want to say, like, I think this is really cool because it'll never take away the original games. Like, they're not saying that we're making the ultimate version. We're just reimagining it and having some fun, which I appreciate and I think they should totally do. But the first thing what I thought of was the whole controversy around DLSS 5, where it was like, oh, what if you take the game and just put an AI filter over it? And I'm sorry, I don't mean to to draw those conclusions, but that was the first thing I thought of, was just like, oh, is this just like an AI filter over this?
Right. It could be seen as like the bastardization of the game, and because they're calling it's not a Game Boy game. It's not a Game Boy Advance game. They're calling it like a fantasy console, right? Which is kind of, there's other ones out there like Pico 8 and Tick 80 where they do this thing where they just make their own platform. So that's kind of the idea, is that they're targeting this like kind of new medium where it is Game Boy Advance and also Game Boy at the same time. And I don't know, some people are into it, some people aren't. Like, I don't know if you saw a couple of years ago when they did like a new port of Link's Awakening, like that old Game Boy game, but they did it was called DX HD, and it allowed you to zoom out so you could see, like, you could just go across the map and stuff. And it was on the Steam Deck for a little bit. It was on itch.io for just a moment, and then Nintendo obviously got involved and it went down. But there's still copies floating around, and some people were like, this is so cool. I can see the whole map at once and move my little Link around or zoom in or whatever I need to do. Play it at 60 frames, like, and these beautiful textures and stuff. And it is cool. But some people were like, this is so bad, because it takes away from the way the game worked originally, which was just one screen at a time as you went through each of the maps, and so it is what it is.
I don't know. I don't get angry about this kind of stuff because if you just enjoy playing the original one, it's still there. This is not, I mean, I guess it would be different if like Nintendo like tried to scrub the original one from all history and said, you know what, no, this is canon. Kind of like
the Star Wars movies.
Yeah. That's what George Lucas did with the Star Wars movie, right? No, Han did shoot first. Whatever. But it's just like, no, this is people off to the side having some fun reimagining. Also, I just looked it up. This thing is still getting updated. There's a post on Reddit from 2 months ago of the Link's Awakening DX HD.
Oh, right.
It's got an update. And it looks
like I think they still are doing updates, but they're like, but you need to find your own assets kind of thing. You know what I mean? Like, because that was the thing, is that itch.io page had like the full game assets in it. Like you could just download the whole thing once it's an exe file.
Oh, got
and
it.
so that was like the problem, is that it wasn't a bring your own ROM sort of situation like with the Super Mario ports or like Open Goal, which is the Jack and Daxter one. Like those ones are legit, at least, they're clean room. Whereas that one was like full on, like, hey, here's the game, and so that was bad.
Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah. Okay. Anyway, cool little stuff. I mean, it seems like this project is probably a ways off. This is more just hey, this is something I'm working on,
right?
Kind of thing, right?
Yeah. Again, and I think it's just neat. Someone's doing this, and who knows? Like they might learn something from this, which inspires somebody else to do something else, and then it just kind of snowballs into some other really cool project. And so, yeah, I'm always happy when people do things like this.
Yeah, well, I am happy to take a break, and we'll be back with some very, very cool stuff. Russ, oh boy, it's time. We're gonna dive deep into the pockets. I'm wearing some jeans. I think these are Levi's. I think they've got some real deep pockets. There's a lot of stuff in there, and we got to talk about it.
Okay, let's do it. What's in your pocket?
Yeah, so what's in my pocket is let me use my fancy second camera angle. I got in the AYN Thor Lite. You can see how I actually was playing some games on it. This is
some sort of Advanced War.
Advanced War's Dual Strike. And so, yeah, AYN did send this over. This is actually my first time ever using a AYN Thor, even though people have been espousing about it for a while. So I do quickly want to give maybe my first impressions.
Yes.
Like, even though everybody's done that over the...
Yeah.
So I gotta say,
for everyone listening, we have not talked about this at all. So this is going to be
at all.
Pure,
I mean,
raw,
you got into Light as well, and I did watch your video, and we're going to talk about that. But yeah, I've not talked about my opinions on this. I will say real quick that AYN did send this over. It arrived last week, but I was out last week. So actually, when I first got this in my hands was Tuesday when I was in the office for Full Nerd. So I've very limited time, but essentially 2 days with it. So, but even with that said, I got to say the unboxing experience was really nice. Like I felt like it had the nice amount of like pomp and circumstance of, oh, hey, you just bought this really cool device. Check this out. But not overly done. Not like, oh, we're going to hit you over the head with, crazy kinds of... Yeah, there we go. Yeah. Or Asus, actually. If we're talking about brands, I feel like both of them just go a little too far with it. And so that was nice. And then I took it out. So this is what do they call this colorway? Black? Or is it?
Yeah, just black.
Just black. Okay. And I was just like, wow, this is actually a really good size. And I compared it. Let me switch back over to... and my hotkey didn't work. There we go. Now it is. I compared it to my new 3DS XL that I have here. So it's forgive me because I'm sure the people have already seen this, but like that was my first comparison point was, okay, how does it feel versus the new 3DS XL? And I was like, okay, this actually feels very comfortable. Obviously it's got a little bit more of the trigger kind of stuff bump on here, but that's nice, and I guess I was worried that it was going to be a little bit more like this, the Ioneo Flip DS.
Flip DS,
yeah, because I mean this thing was a chonk. This thing was heavy, and I was like, oh my goodness, I really hope it's not that bad, and it is not that bad.
Yeah, it's funny because INEO also made an Android-based dual screen handheld this past year called the Pocket DS, and it's almost as big as that Flip DS. Or it just
Really?
And that was my biggest thing. I was like, it's just like it feels like a handheld PC, but it happens to run Android, is what it felt like. You know what I mean? And so yes, the Thor is a thing of its own, where it's like this is like just a thick 3DS. And so I'm trying to get it to focus. There we go. Yeah, and so I do really like the thinness of this overall.
Yeah. So nice, really good quality feel. Like the branding on the bottom, just AYN. It's very very simple, and I feel like the ergonomics are good. I mean, the only thing I would note is I wish the shoulder button was maybe a little thicker. Like I feel like it's just a little thin, and because it's kind of a little wobbly, like that. I don't know. Not that I'm accidentally hitting buttons, but I'm nitpicking, right? Because it's like at the end of the day, once I started using it, I was just like, dang, this feels good. Even the weight balance, like I was worried it was going to be top heavy, like it wasn't. And I guess so. Yeah, I've been playing a lot of DSi. So like I think that's the hard part for me, is that I've been so used to playing this so much lately that yes, this is a little bit bigger. I mean, it definitely is bigger than this. Sure. I don't know how it compares to like the DSi XL, but yeah,
it's nearly the same like thickness instead, not thickness, width and height. This is the DSi XL. Yeah.
Oh, okay. But yeah, so I've been setting it up, and I was like, okay, you know what? I don't know what I'm doing here. Let me go over to Retro Game Core. Oh, look at this. He has a 2-hour video to set up an AYN Thor. This is amazing.
Full-length movie. Yeah.
I can't wait to grab my favorite snacks and drinks and sit down and luckily Russ at the beginning. I don't know if you know this guy, Russ, really, really nice guy. At the beginning, he told me to treat it like a project and, maybe bite off a little bit here and there. But number one, I'm very excited to check this out. Number two, I'm under a time crunch because I gotta talk about this on my podcast, Expedition Handheld. So I did try to go through it as fast as I can. I'm not done, but I did set some stuff up, and I've got a list of notes here. Can I go over this list of notes here?
Yeah, let's hear them. Okay. I want to hear the moratorium here on your experience.
So some of this is about the device itself, and to tell you the truth, some of this is about your video.
Sure.
I'm not going to put it on blast.
No, I want to hear it.
So the first thing I noticed that really tripped me out, and I was like, oh, is this a me thing? And then I noticed you were having that problem too, is that sometimes on that top touchscreen, I'm having to hit something twice.
You got to be really precise. Yeah. And I have a hard time talking and doing something at the same time. So I often will miss it. That's in every video, but it is definitely something I noticed on this one. Dude, I got to really nail it.
Yeah. It was tripping me up. I was like, oh, is it not registering that I'm tapping? So now you're saying you think the activation zone is like really tiny?
Yeah. I think it's just small is really what it is. It's probably just very tight and precise. And it's like on a 6-inch screen, it can be a little bit rough. Yeah. Part of it though also is like full on my user error of just like I can't talk and do things at the same time, which is amazing because that's what most of my videos are, is me talking and doing something at the same time.
But it's not you, dude. Like I said, it was happening to me a lot, and then I noticed it on your video that it took you, like I don't remember which spot in the video it was, but through the course of stuff, you're like, okay, I'm going to close this and I'm going to open this app, and you had that double tap as well, and I was like, oh, okay, well, is this just a Thor thing? Really weird.
It is just, it's something that I kind of just accept with handhelds, and it's interesting that you bring it up because I just don't notice, but it is one of those things like swiping up. Sometimes I got to do it 2 or 3 times with every handheld. It's just like you got to get right there and got it perfect. To close out of an app, for example, swiping up and closing it. I often will miss those inputs, and a lot of times I just re-record that part. I'm like, that looked so dumb. And I'll just have to do it all over again because I didn't swipe right.
I don't know. Like me personally, I feel like you should leave that in and note it because like I said, I would have thought it was just me until I saw you in the video double tap. And I was like, okay, cool. It's not just me then.
Yeah. No, that's a great point. So, it is something that, keep it in, warts and all, it makes sense.
Yeah. And I mean, maybe it's something to comment on. Maybe it's not. I mean, you didn't comment on this video.
Yeah, I only comment when it's real bad. Like when it's like, when it prevents me from actually doing the thing I need to do. Some Ambernicks are like that. And a lot of it's the touch polling rate is real bad on some of those. And so, there's a lot of issues.
Interesting. Okay. The next one is part of the process after setting it up is going into the system settings and updating. You said Thor OTA. I mean, you showed Thor OTA, but for mine, it actually said Odin FOTA. Do you know why that's different?
Yeah, and so I'm assuming the 865 version, which is this one here, is a different Android build altogether. I think it's a different Android version. And so, AYN owns Odin's and Thor's. And so they probably were using some sort of other image because like the default background, this kind of like purple moon thing or whatever, that's different on the actual Thor Pro or the other I don't have mine turned on. I'll turn it on here in a second, but it's like, it's a completely different background. So they're like running two different operating systems right now, basically.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where obviously you already made the guide, before you got the light in.
Yeah.
But that is kind of a bummer because I feel like we'll talk about like whether we think people should buy this or not towards the end. But spoilers, like I actually have been very happy with it, and like there's definitely little things like that where it's just like that's hard. Like, man, now Russ's video is going to be 3 hours long because like there's like I don't know. Also in the back of my mind, I'm like, oh wait, so would Russ have to get in all 4 versions, make sure each one of them says
how much
the same
work would
thing?
That be? Yeah,
it's
like, hard.
I don't know.
And it's that way with any guide, is like, that's why I often will do annual guides for some of this stuff. Cause it changes too, little things. And, for someone like you, and I trust most of my audience, they're smart enough to know that when it says Odin OTA versus Thor OTA, that the OTA is the important part and they're going to figure that out. But yeah, well, it's all kind of here or there nor there. So
well, now that you're saying that, that actually makes more sense because the next couple things, as you were still going through the system settings, there was no EQ setting, there was no video output mode, like things like that where I was just like, wait, am I seeing this right? Do I have an update that I'm missing? Do I need to restart? Okay, I restarted. No, the EQ is still not there. He references it, but it was just weird.
And it is something I didn't even notice till afterwards because those are things I didn't mess with in my review, but I did notice it afterwards. And it still does video out, but it's only 1080p 60, which might be a limitation of the chipset too. Each of these chips had specific video out implementations and limitations, but like something like the EQ settings, like that should be something that they can, that's like an embedded app they just need to put into the build, And so I wrote up a list of these stuff and I'll send it over to AYN and be like, hey, some things to look into, I don't know how it's going now, but when they first launched, they were like, we maybe shouldn't have made the Thor because nobody's ordering it. And I don't know if that's changed now, but maybe that's why they're prioritizing the other models because that's the lion's share of the people actually ordering them.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not. Once again, I'm not blaming you.
Sure.
It's just like it's one of those things where it's hard. Doing this is hard, and
you should have EQ settings in your Thor because I think it needs it. So.
Yeah. So, I mean, unless maybe the speakers are different, but no, I mean, the hardware is supposed to be the same. Right?
Yeah, it's got to be the same.
So, okay. I will say you were going through the settings, and at some point you're like, I'm not going to go through every setting. This is just a quick starter guide. And then I was like, you probably could have cut out some of those other things, like you danced in between. You're like, okay, I'm going to start to go through all these settings, but then at some point I'm going to say, I'm not going to go through all these settings. That's
the joys of doing it live.
Balance, right?
Yeah. Like it is one of those where it's like, okay, what are the ones that I usually look at? And then what would you want to see? And I kind of got to breeze through some and some others I don't.
Well, because I think maybe the way I would think about it is that what do you need to show and explain that you think is necessary, right? Like you went in and called out the EQ setting specifically, hey, here's what I think is an EQ setting, but then also some of the settings you didn't change anything, but you explain to people what they were. So like to me, that's not a setup guide. That's more like a, kind of, oh, hey, here's what these settings and what they do. And it's not just for the Thor. Like you do that kind of when you're in the different emulators and like helping configure, like you'll be like, okay, well, here are the ones that I think you should change, but then I'll tell you about some of these other things in case you're interested, kind of thing. Yeah. So maybe that'll help cut down on the runtime. I don't know.
Yeah, that's a good point. Part of it, I guess, I'm not being defensive or anything, but like part of it to me is like the idea of giving people the confidence in their device is like, hey, you can do anything with this. And here's some other things you can do too if you want to go a little bit further. And so it's like, because that's kind of what I'm thinking is like by the end of this, I want you to feel like confident. And so that's sometimes why I will just show things instead of omitting them. But yeah, it makes sense. It is such a hard balance too.
But I also guess, once again, this is on me because of the situation. Yeah. I was trying to set this thing up as fast as I could. And I was like, okay, I don't care. I'm never going to mess with this stuff. Just tell me how to get to the end and just play the games. So,
right. You were in a rush. You did not want to eat this elephant one bite at a time. You wanted to just devour it.
I hate the taste of elephant. Just kidding. I've never tasted elephant. And I'm sorry, Russ. I know I've messaged you before on this before, but when I should have marked down what this was, but you were telling me to download or sideload an APK. I think it was for the now I don't remember, but it was in the process of downloading all of the Obtainium stuff, and you were just like, oh yeah. This little pop up right here that says this might be harmful. I'm just not going to mention it. I'm just going to breeze past this and hit this button. Like, listen, Russ. If there's anywhere to stop and explain to people and give them and make them feel empowered, it's, oh, hey, there's a reason why this is telling you, like giving you a big scary warning that says, would you like to install an unknown app? Here's why it's telling you that. Because,
gosh, it's such a valid point. I'm getting roasted on my own podcast. This is great.
No,
you're right though.
I mean, listen, like, not that I think you're intentionally misleading people to install malware or something like that, but like I think anytime you're doing something like turning off secure boot or doing something that could potentially open you up to security vulnerabilities, I think it's good to at least stop and be like, hey, I just want to be very clear that this is a security thing. The reason why they're doing this is because maybe somebody accidentally or not accidentally or intentionally injected code in there and you're sideloading it, and you just make sure that you downloaded it from a trusted source and, followed my guide kind of thing, because I also wouldn't want somebody to be like, oh, you know what, Russ said I should go get Obtainium. I'm just going to Google it real quick. And I found this other place over here on the side and it looks like the same thing. Okay, cool. Install unknown app. Oh crap. It's bricked. So
totally fair. And it is one of those things where I just make the assumption, like, listen, I'm using all clean apps here, so we can just skip this part, right? But it's worth noting, it's like, hey, don't go to like APK whatever website.com and start sideloading stuff, and that's just something I avoid in all the videos, but it's worth expressing, especially in a starter guide. I mean, it's totally valid, right? Some of these people are like, I have no idea how to set any of this stuff up or why,
Yeah. Or I can imagine a lot of people who don't know Android at all. And just be like, okay, cool. Russ just thumbed through the safe. I guess I don't need to worry about it. And this happens. I kind of alluded to too. Is like, and I think this is the first time I messaged you is when I did your install guide for dual booting Bazite on the RG Ally, and you were like, oh yeah. So here's how you do, to turn off secure boot. Okay, cool. We did it. It was just like, dude, you got to at least warn people, like, hey, this will open you up to security vulnerabilities.
No, fair. There's a reason why a lot of these secure, like annoying pop-ups come up is because, that's something the company learned from some sort of malware thing. So totally makes sense. Yeah,
for sure. So anyway, keep going. So I have this weird thing. I'm going to show you live here because I have this
live troubleshooting.
My thing set up that is driving me crazy and I don't understand why. So I got to the Melon DS part. Getting the setup for that, and when you were going through and describing the ways that it can be the display options between the two, I was very confused because it was missing something for me. So I'm going to switch over to the other camera here. I don't know if you can see if I'm in there, but I mean, I guess that what I should do is back up real quick and load up a game. So I do own this game, so I'm just going to go ahead and load this up. It's defaulting to not have the same screen size. So the top screen is a different aspect ratio than the bottom one. I can change the placement. So I followed your advice and on the bottom screen had it shift upward, but I can't change the size of this to match this. It's just not in there as an option.
All right, all good, valid stuff. So the DS was originally 2 4x3 screens, same size. That Thor, 2 different size screens, 2 different aspect ratios. So they're both in 4x3, but the top one's just larger because it's a 6-inch display. The one down below is smaller. So it's always going to be that offset, So if you need that perfect whatever, the most recent update of Melon DS or Melon Dual DS or whatever, the one I put in the guide, it doesn't have the option anymore to allow you to you can actually create a custom profile and you can go and then squeeze it down and stuff. And in some of my very early, I think I did like a dual handheld starter guide. Like before I did a Thor guide, I did this other one. And in that one, I showed people how to make it and resize it if that's important. But it's really only like Sonic Rush. Things will look a little bit off as you're running because they're both running in parallel. Very few games. And so in this video, I was like, let's just, very basic starter, hopefully people... But I should have called it out and said, hey, one's bigger than the other. And it's because, the top screen is just a larger screen. They're both 4x3, but that's how it's going to look. And so,
I guess I expected an option in there to scale it down. Like I'd be okay with extra black around the borders, just to match kind of thing. So, I mean, not a huge thing, but
I thought about it too. And it's one of those, you realize I I put a lot of thought into how I'm going to configure and what's going to be the best way to present it. And my way of thinking with that was that in the other one, when I did that, people were kind of make comments why would you go through all that trouble, and lose all that screen real estate, kind of thing.
Really?
And then also just kind of looking at everybody else who's all those TikTok style videos were look at this thing, the Thor, and all of them are blowing it up as big as possible. Some are even stretching it to 16:9, which is just heresy. But so it's it's one of those things as I'm thinking through, I'm how should I present this and what's going to be simpler and stuff. But that's the fix right there. So I would recommend that older starter guide, dual screen handheld starter guide, which was made for the Thor and the Pocket DS at the same time because they were both kind of neck and neck at the time. Okay. And that's what I would recommend.
Yeah. Also, yours mapped properly for the inputs. Mine actually, the buttons were not mapped properly. I had to go in and map the buttons. Yeah.
Yeah. I wonder if that's an update. That is interesting. I was actually I was doing it live and there was a newer version that I hadn't tried before. And the fact that they were already loaded surprised me and kind of threw me off. And so I'm recording, I'm and look, they're already mapped. I just kind of went with it. And it's one of those things where it's, I try to keep up with them, but sometimes little things like that will just sneak up on me. It's another one I used to do all the time for Azahar, the 3DS emulator, was you had to go into the advanced settings and then go into this part and then turn VSync off. Even though you would think, you have to have VSync on, Android has its own system level VSync, so you don't need that. And it caused input delay. And so it was one of those things I used to tell people, go in there, turn it off. And I guess enough of the developers saw me doing that. And they're like, let's just turn it off. And so now it's just turned off. So I don't even mention it anymore. Little things like that.
Okay. Yeah. Speaking of Azahar, I'm having this issue where it's just not working. So I don't know if I'll switch to it and just show you. So I do have ROMs. I do own all of these games. And some of them show up as images, some of them don't, and they are decrypted. They even say it in the file, but then when I run it, I get this pop up that says your ROM is encrypted.
So that happens to me sometimes too. Sometimes games that in previous versions of Azahar ran just fine, all of a sudden they've got the squiggle on them, and it's just I don't know what they're doing. They've always been very forward in terms of making sure there's no piracy happening in the app, and so they used to make you have to rename your files from .3ds to .cci. There was a whole thing about that. And then another development team forked that app and then made it so you didn't have to do that, and then they got mad about that, and then they changed it back. emulator drama. But anyway, yeah, so it is something. And, my advice would be just to, either re-rip the file or find another source and then try it again.
Okay. Well, so
I haven't been able to get around that.
Well, unfortunately, the other problem is the ones that do have the image. So I'm gonna launch one here. It says okay, and then I get a fatal error.
What?
And it says fatal error occurred. Check the log for details. I hit continue, and then after it continues, or after I hit continue, just nothing. Sometimes it crashes the desktop. Sometimes it's nothing.
That.
So
yeah, I've never seen that.
Like the 3DS was the thing I was the most excited to try this out for. Well, that and the DS, and I was like, I can't get a single one of these games to run. So
what a pain.
yeah,
that's hard because for me, 3DS is the easiest one between the two to actually get up and running. So I've never seen that. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe install the app again. Maybe there's a newer version, and then try a different ROM source. That's one thing I can think of.
It made me think, and I put this in the notes here, is that I would love to see a Retro Game Core troubleshooting guide. Like a 2-hour guide to be like, hey, you know what? Here are the common things that I've run into with CMU or Dolphin or Azahar. Just like go through each of the main apps and be like, okay, well, if you're having this issue, then try this or do that kind of thing. Which, it's not for a starter guide, so I didn't expect you to be like, oh yeah, and if you're running into any issues, try this kind of thing. Luckily, I can get on a podcast here and talk to you about it. But like, if I wasn't able to get on a podcast and talk to you about it, I feel like there's not enough troubleshooting guides out there. Not just for handhelds, but for a lot of stuff, and especially these handhelds that have so many complex moving parts. With you got to install it in this order, and then do this and that kind of thing. I feel like having some sort of troubleshooting guide would be nice, but
no, I think that's fair. I as you're saying that, it kind of makes me think that I should do per app videos. You know what I mean? Like an Azahar video where it's like, hey, full on, here's everything you need to know. And I've never actually really done that. I've done some like updates, like, hey, here's a new update to this emulator. Let's check it out, But I don't really do I did that like the first 6 months of my channel. I did a few of those, those way back when I was still learning, But yeah, that would be really helpful. Like a good example was like, you remember one of our first episodes, somebody had specific problems with Dolphin emulator on their device. And I specifically gave them answers, and then they came back and said that fixed it, So little things like that. I think that's valid.
Let Russ know in the comments if you would love to start hearing some specific troubleshooting guides, because I think that would be a godsend. And is it the most flashiest, exciting stuff? No, but it's user service stuff that I think is important, and I wish a lot more people would do that. Not just in the handheld space. So
part of me thinks is like, okay, I could. Well, it's a trade off because instead of making a 2-hour Thor video, I could make a 1-hour Thor video and then point you to some of the other ones, But a lot of people don't like doing that. And that's one of the reasons why I do the epic ones, is because they just want one video, take me through the whole thing, And so that's why there's a 2-hour video. So
I think that makes sense. Yeah. So a couple more things real quick. I showed this to Will when I first unboxed it after the Full Nerd. And I was like, oh yeah, like one of the only things that's a little weird. Well, I mean, number one, it doesn't include a stylus. Okay, cool, whatever. I don't expect them to include that in the box. But you always give your recommendations for the stylus that you did in the video. I don't remember the names of them. But Will was like, oh, hey, on my iPad Pro or whichever iPad he has, he's like, oh, I got this film that you put on it that when you use the Apple Pencil on it, it actually gives it a little bit of friction and like
like the paper-like one or whatever.
So it's not like straight on the glass kind of thing. Have you ever messed with any of those?
I have on my iPad, it was during the pandemic, everyone's watching videos. I was watching a lot of iPad videos, and they were like, oh, and our sponsor is Paperlike and blah, blah, blah. And so I bought one of those, and it feels great, and it mutes all the colors and graphics, and to the point where I just pulled it off, Okay. And so it's something I should think about. Another thing that people do and I haven't done is that they sell on Etsy like matte like decals that you can put on this part, like on the non-screen part, so that it's not so shiny on all the other parts, you know. So people will do that, or they just personalize it, like, oh, give me a Pokemon kind of motif, you know. Those are things I haven't done either. I just hate putting on decals, you know, unless it's like a D brand one where it's really thick and sturdy, you know, like those are fine, you know, but the other ones, it's like, it's just asking me for to crinkle and to put a bubble in it, and I'm gonna get annoyed, you know?
Yeah, so. Right. Like I usually try to put some sort of screen protector on my devices, especially the ones that I'm going to be touching, like the 3DSi that I got. I was like, oh, I got to get a screen protector immediately. But yeah, I was like, oh man, it's going to be really weird to put a screen protector on there.
Just right there on that spot.
You know.
But. Yeah, it would be unique. I honestly just don't play enough DS games that require a stylus to really warrant it for me with a Thor. I mostly play 3DS games on it, mostly those that just use the controls, you know. So yeah, it is definitely, I think, an option. And I've seen them out there. There's all sorts of options out there, but yeah, I haven't really done it. The only thing I actually use one of those for is my Kobo, which is like my Kindle kind of thing, you know. And that's just to like kind of give it a little bit of protector, and that's it. And I don't mind that one since it's just text, you know.
Okay. Also, one last thing from your guide, and I'm not done with the guide. Like I said, I only got up to making sure I could play DS and 3DS games, but I have to finish it and like, you know, get all the pretty front end stuff. But in it, you had mentioned the fact that the two screens have different refresh rates. So the top one goes up to 120, the bottom one only 60. And I don't remember your exact wording, but you're like, for the most part, I just, you know, I recommend you leave them both to run at 60 because then you don't come into anything weird. But then in your Lite video, you were like, oh yeah, no, I run it at 120. Check this out, kind of thing. And I was like, wait, which one do you do, Russ? What?
Yeah. So it's a thing. Like, so I went in more detail about the Thor, particularly with the other model, like the non-light one. And then I did a follow-up and stuff talking about it. So 120 hertz when you're emulating will reduce the input delay because it just basically presents on the screen that much faster. And so when you're playing a retro style game, it's kind of nice in that regard. Works well with DS and 3DS as well, which has like that delay in the app too. All of these have a little bit of input delay, and so that helps to minimize it. The problem is that, and I kind of go more into detail in that one. I kind of glossed over in the base one or in the light one, is that when you do that 120 hertz mode, which is actually a feat of engineering in the first place, that you can have two Android screens running two different refresh rates because it's not designed for that, it causes screen tearing on the bottom screen. And so if you're just playing a single screen game and you got something playing on the bottom, like a video or a guide or something, it's not really that big a deal. Some people don't like scrolling because then you can see the screen tearing really easily. And so that's like the major drawback. And with the Lite in particular, the one that you have, like I think I mentioned in the review, is like when you put it to 120 hertz when playing 3DS, it really taxes the system. And it's something to do with the 3DS emulator. I think it's actually trying to run the game at 120 frames per second. Like it's actually like trying to boost the speed without speeding it up. Like it's actually adding smoothness to it, kind of like how RetroArch can adapt to that too. And I think it's become more demanding if you have it in 120 hertz. And as a result, if you just use the regular performance mode, which you can for most 3DS games, if you put it in 120 hertz, all of a sudden it's like jittery and like it feels like it's running at 20 because you can like kind of see the motion, like lack of clarity. And so that is kind of a weird thing. It is a bit more of an advanced thing. For the most part, yeah, I will leave it at 120 hertz if I'm playing single screen stuff, and then I just kind of play it by ear. With the Lite, I've found that sometimes I do just want to knock it down to 60, so I'm not like full on turning the fans on and all that stuff.
Okay. Yeah, and I actually did. I took the bus this morning to work, which I haven't done that in a while. Partially because Lindsay needed the car, and partially because I was like, hey, you know what? I actually want to try to play this out in the wild. Like, I think one of the problems is that you know, sometimes we tried something out, we test something, but we're not thinking about things and you know how people use it in the wild. So I played it on the bus going in this morning, and I was like, dang, these screens are reflective. Oh man.
Yeah.
Like I love like the glass just looks so premium, but on the bus ride I was like, oh boy, wow, this is
bad. Yeah.
And I guess I should back up and say that any screen, I'm actually a matte person. Like on computer screens,
Sure. Okay.
I know there's a whole debate between glossy versus matte kind of thing.
Yeah.
I'm just a matte guy. I'm okay taking the hit in color and contrast and things like that. Like, yeah, oh man, I wish there was an option of the Thor that didn't have have pure glass screens.
Just yesterday, I was on it was like the Thor subreddit, I think, and someone was making a post. It was like, hey, which model should I get? You see that all the time. And one was like, I'm really worried about reflections, and it's like, I want to get the cheaper one, but I'm worried about these reflections. And there's so many comments down below like, oh, they don't matter. You never can see it, And they're like, one guy posted a picture and he's like, yeah, look, no reflections. And he's like in a dark room. Like, come on, dude. Like, of course, like that's a beautiful time to play it. But it's when you're in a bus. Like I first noticed it when I traveled to Japan with one of these. It was actually the older black model, but the pro one. And it was so bad. We were like in line at Disneyland and I was like, I can see everything. We were in the subway and I was like, this is just, it's like one of those you can't unsee once you start thinking about it. And that's one of the reasons why like my main Thor is this guy here. I gave the other one away. I've got that rainbow color one and this is great.
Yeah, I think usually on work trips, I'll take one PC handheld and one emulation handheld, or handheld meant for an emulation. I think I'm probably going to bring this to Computex just to see how it does on like a plane ride and things like that. Right. But yeah, I was just and listen, at home it hasn't really been a problem. Yeah, but it like. Taking on the bus and also, I mean, I did bring the DSi and I was like, okay, cool, no issues. Right. But
so. It's one of those things where it's a double-edged sword where it's like, yes, the reflection, like that glossiness is very premium looking. It just feels good, but it's also heavier and then a bit more reflective, and I mean, the thing about a clamshell too is it makes me want to travel with it too, because it's just like it's self-protecting. You just close this thing up and it's like, pop it in wherever and it's good. You don't have to worry about it getting scratched up. And so it's just kind of, again, like a double-edged sword. It's like, I want to travel with this thing. I also don't want to travel with this thing.
Yeah. So like I tried to wait a little bit before I watched your Thor Lite video just to make sure my impressions were not, too tainted or whatever. And like really good points in that video. I'm so glad you did it. And from the comments I saw, people were like, oh yeah, wow, there's not enough people talking about the Lite out there. So yeah, like I want to do my own kind of maybe follow-up kind of thing or something, because like I have no experience with the other high-end ones. This is the one I have experience with. And for me, like, I would want a dual screen device like this to make sure that it gets the DS and the 3DS stuff right. And okay, I haven't been able to play 3DS stuff as we've talked about, but I mean, you've essentially said that you didn't run into any performance issues with the 3DS games you tested.
Yeah, I went back and forth between like what I was going to title my video, and I went with Still Magical, because I think that makes sense. I was going to maybe do good enough, because I think it is like when it comes to playing DS and 3DS, and of course, like up to PS2 and GameCube, like it's there. Like it does all those things well enough for most people, I think. Yes, there's going to be sticklers out there, but if you're a stickler, you got the other models to choose from too. So that's one of those things where often the cheaper one for me is not the one I will recommend, or I don't think it is good enough, but this is one where I'm like, yeah, this is totally good.
Yeah, and I mean, towards the end too, you were like, hey, listen, you can get a higher performing chipset on a cheaper device like a Retroid Pocket or something like that. But like I'm okay personally taking that trade-off to get the benefit of the two screens, of the clamshell design, the pocketability, things like that. Like, it also made me think that maybe we're in a weird bubble because we have so many different devices and we constantly testing something, and I feel like there's more people out there who are just trying to find the one
Yeah.
that does everything. And so I could easily see somebody thinking in terms like that. Nothing against that, but they're like, yeah, like, oh, the Lite won't play, Switch games the way I want to. It's
Right.
like, okay, well then I need to either shell out some more money or get a different option. But it's like, for me, as long as this nailed the fundamentals of the dual screen stuff, and then I get the benefit of having other games. So like one of the other ones I did load up and was sure to kind of get going was the PPSSP.
Yeah, that's so good on the Thor.
Yeah, it's really nice. Like, and it's really nice to have the eyesight
right,
like higher than the Retroid Pocket, right? Because I guess I'm so used to just looking at where the hands are that it's nice to have it up here. And I wasn't doing anything on the screen down below, so that didn't really matter. But like, yeah, I don't know. I think this is cool. Like I'm super blown away. I have not gotten a Thor for a while, and I think that's just because like I just kind of liked the experience, the more native experience, and I was like, I already have a 3DS, and now I have a DSi. Why would I need a Thor? But now I can kind of see how this would be something that could theoretically just be your one device.
Yeah, I think it is, and a lot of people are saying that. Like that's one of the big things I'm seeing is like a lot of people like I'm not even looking at retro handhelds anymore because I got the Thor at this point, and that was kind of unique. And I think it may, for some people, it might take some time to kind of settle into it and understand kind of how those two screens really benefit you as a user. I mean, as an example, when we were at CES, you and I, which was 3.5 months ago, almost 4 months ago. I had my Thor with me, and I remember I put it in your hands. We were in the car, we were driving to the desert, and I was like, "Yeah, this is the Thor," and you're like, "Huh, cool," and then handed it back. It's like it didn't hit you then, but it's hitting you now, which is kind of neat.
Yeah. And like my daily emulation, whatever, I don't play it as much, but is the Retroid Pocket 6. But now I'm like, oh, I would 100% rather have this than the Retroid Pocket 6, even though that is more powerful.
Right.
This like having, once again, the dual screen stuff, but then even the single screen stuff in just a different angle is just really, it's really nice.
It's more immersive, honestly. And the only thing keeping me from using the Thor all day, every day is my Odin 3. Like that's the one where it's like just the comfort, and it's the same screen as the top screen on the Thor, so it's like similar in that regard, but the comfort, and I do like the larger sticks on that one. So I ended up using the Odin 3 more, but I've always been a horizontal guy, but the Thor would be my main boo if I didn't have that Odin 3 right now.
Be my main boo. So the last question I had around this stuff is, I didn't look at the comments for your Thor Lite video, but I guess that's wrong. I did. I saw people being like, "Oh yeah, I'm glad somebody's covering the Lite," but I didn't see that many people pushing back and being like, "Oh, I would still never get that. You're leaving too much performance on the table." Do you think in the long run somebody could potentially feel like they missed out on something?
I feel like you mean missed out on something by getting the Lite,
by getting the Lite versus one of the other base Pro, whatever.
Yeah. I feel like the upgrade path is shorter with the 865, like the Lite chipset, because I guess the way I'm thinking is if the Thor 2 comes out next year or later this year or something like that, those who have the regular Thor probably don't need it. Those who have the Lite might be more interested because it'll be a bigger jump, performance-wise and stuff. But at the end of the day, it's not like 3DS and DS games are going to get harder to emulate.
Right.
So it already is going to work on the Android front end and everything else. So it really depends on what you're trying to look for. What's the next frontier? You know what I mean? Like you want to play PS3 games on it, then okay, yeah, you'll have to go with a better chipset, but for what it does, it's going to age well, I would say. And so I don't know about in terms of regrets. I think that if anything, it would give someone the opportunity getting the lighter one and be like, okay, next handheld, I don't need to get a dual screen one because I've got my dual screen systems covered. Now I can try to focus on something else. Maybe I want a vertical, maybe I want a horizontal or something. And so, I don't know. I think and that was the whole point of my review is like, let people who are interested in Odin Lite or Thor Lite really kind of figure out whether or not that's a good fit and it's going to be good enough and magical for them. And I think for most people it will be if that's what they're focusing on. So yeah, I don't know how many people are going to regret it.
Okay. Yeah. Sorry, I do have one more question. I guess the thing that you didn't cover in that, like you compared to the other devices and the other models in there, but also I was thinking of, I've been playing original hardware for a long time, now that I have this stuff getting rekindled with it, I guess maybe is a better way to say it. And like how would you frame this in terms of, oh, you know what, I want to play mostly dual screen gaming stuff. Should I get this or should I get a 3DS?
Yeah. So this was a huge topic in my original Thor review. Like a full segment that said like not a DS/3DS replacement, basically. And my idea was that like I was worried because people were like, I can just sell my 3DS and get this. And I was like, don't sell your 3DS. Like that was like the big thing. It's hard choosing between the two because there are aspects, that some people might like. There's the whole Street Pass thing and just like, you get a present every time you get a new game added to your 3DS, and you get to open it up. And there are ways you can actually stream from a 3DS to your Thor and actually have that same experience on the Thor. It's a thing that they built in Azahar. It's crazy.
Really? Wow.
I haven't gone that route, but yeah, you have to pull files from your modded 3DS and then you put them over, and there's a whole thing. I forgot what it's called. Something to do with like Arctic or something like that. It's something cold. Anyway, so there are ways to do that, but you're not gonna be able to play games in 3D if that was an important part too. Like there's just a lot of aspects. You can't do your Pico chat. What is that? What it's called? Pico chat on the DS.
Yes.
You know
yes.
what I'm talking about? Picto chat.
Picto chat.
Yeah. Like maybe you can. I don't know. Those are not the things that I look at when I'm trying to emulate. So I think the way I framed it in the video was just like, I focus on just emulating the games as opposed to the experience. And I think in that sense, it's good. But if you're looking for the experience, then those other systems are great too, with the trade-off of, worse screens or, potentially worse battery life, having to use a proprietary charger, like all those things that can get kind of annoying.
Yeah, because I was like, cool, okay, cool. I at least got the DS part set up. Hopefully I can figure out the Azar stuff. And I was playing it, and I was loading up games that I already have, and I was like, oh, okay, well, cool, now I have this option. Which one do I want to play on?
Right. Chuck the DS in the bin, right?
but I didn't. I kind of just wanted to go back to the DSi.
Right.
Like, that's the thing. Magic. Like, it is a worse experience, but at the end of the day, I guess where I'm at in my journey, I've been really valuing having the original hardware. And, not to say that somebody shouldn't consider getting this. It's just like where I'm at. Like, I'm like, okay, cool. I'm glad I have this. And I do think this is an awesome device. But at the end of the day, I'm just enjoying the original hardware right now.
Right.
So,
and that's the hardest thing for me as the reviewer is like, okay, I can't tell you which one you're going to have that magical feeling with, but I can give the best like a semblance of an experience and what it'll be like as if you have this one. The thing about the Thor is that, it's not a DS, it's not a 3DS, it's not a PSP, but it's also all of them. And that's like its own kind of cool thing too. Throw some GameCube games on it, PS2, Game Boy Advance, and so it's that's where that value comes into me, I think.
Yeah, because I'm like, if I'm going to Computex, am I going to actually bring my DSi? Actually,
pack of like handhelds.
Maybe I will. I don't know, but I don't know. It's been an interesting journey, and I'm glad we've been going on this together.
No, this was a fun talk. Because I was really curious. I spoiler, I've seen a couple of your notes that you put in here, so I knew you were going to ask me about stuff like the EQ settings and stuff. So I knew some of that, but a lot of this is like full on like hitting me raw, which I love it.
No, this is fun. Well, it's not the only thing in my pocket, but Russ, I don't want to bogart this whole thing. I don't know if you've been using the Lite as well, but what do you got in your pocket? Anything you want to talk about?
The only other thing, and this video will be out by the time ours comes out, is I've got this guy in my pocket. A little bit too big for an actual pocket, but it's
that is
Steam
handheld
controller.
Yeah. You do hold that in your hand.
In your hands. I actually just filmed some B-roll of it, and I was like showing it off like in the usual spot where I'm standing right here, right? And then I put it in my pocket, like I went to go put it in my pocket, but I'm going to cut it right there, right? So people are going to be like, is he going to put it in his pocket? And then like, it'll cut to another thing. So, cause I always do that, you know? And so, no spoiler here, because obviously that video will already be out by now, but yeah, little things like that, having fun with it. It is obviously, like I'm trying it out on handhelds, you know, like Rocknix, you know, is that Linux-based operating system, which like I plugged it, like the thing is with the newer like updates of Steam that came out in the past couple of days. Now, when you plug in a Steam controller, it goes, hey, you got a Steam controller, right? And so a lot of people are going to be seeing that in a couple of weeks when they get theirs. But Rocknix did it too. Like that's because it's just full on running Linux now. So I just running Steam now. So I went into there, loaded up the Steam client, plugged it in with a like the dongle, and it was like, hey, you got a Steam controller. I was like, that is really interesting that a handheld knew that I plugged in the Steam controller.
Yeah. I mean, I was hoping so because I don't have one. Will, my coworker Will, got one in, so I did get a little bit of just physical touch on it. But out of all the reviews and all the coverage that hit at Embargo, there were so many questions that weren't answered yet. I mean, especially around like, okay, well, how does this thing work in SteamOS or other distros of Linux? I get it. Everyone was looking at it from like an actual controller perspective, or yada yada or whatever. But like, there was way more experiential stuff that I was like, please tell me more. That I'm glad you checked it out in Rocknix. That makes me feel a lot better that it seems to be working in other distros. So
yeah, and that was one of the things, when I posted a photo of the box on social media yesterday, both on Twitter and then my YouTube community tab, and like thousands of likes and like hundreds of comments, and some of those comments really helped to steer like what I wanted to talk about in the video, because people were just asking random questions like, okay, how does it work in GameCube on an Android handheld? And it's like, well, it doesn't. So I need to show you that, basically that it just runs in lizard mode for everything that's not running actual Steam. And lizard mode is like, if you ever use a Steam Deck, where it's like, it's just a mouse, your trackpad is just a mouse cursor, and then your right trigger is your click.
That's called lizard mode?
They call it lizard mode.
Who called it that?
Valve. It's like a thing. It's from the old Steam controller. I don't know why they call it lizard mode.
Funny. I've never
heard Carrie say it once on the Fox, and he's like, lizard mode. Like, I don't know where it comes from.
That's funny.
Anyway, yeah, so it's just lizard mode in everything. Mac, Android, iOS, so you can use it as a mouse. That's great, So if you are trying to play, I don't know, like DOSBox games on your handheld, where it's just mouse and cursor kind of thing, clicking around a point-and-click adventure, you could do that. But you can't play GameCube on that thing.
Yeah, no, that's very, very interesting. I like insider baseball. I know we talk about this a lot, but like sometimes I actually appreciate not getting something for Embargo, because then you get a chance to see then what everyone is talking about at Embargo that either wasn't covered, or like questions like that. Because like I feel like sure, maybe you wouldn't get as many views as if you would have been in Embargo, but I guarantee now you're going to have way more interesting info than a lot of those other reviews that I saw at Embargo.
And so. I'm the same way. Like I was like, because I got the email, right? And I was like, okay, cool. And they're like, don't tell anyone. I'm like, okay, I won't. And then so I gave my address and I'm waiting. And then I like look at YouTube and there's videos out. And I was like, okay, I guess I was not first wave, And then I saw comments like, oh, Russ didn't get it first wave. I'm like, great. So, and some people were like, oh, I'm not going to watch any videos till I make my review. I'm like, I'm watching all these videos to see where the missing spots are, like where are the gaps? How can I fill that, And then I also don't have to make like amazing graphics about how TMR works, because Gamers Nexus already did it, So those are the kind of things.
Point to his video.
Right, exactly. And so it's like, nobody needs Russ telling you how TMR works, because I'm just gonna be reading a page, I don't know how that stuff works. And so yes, so I also don't want to be the first when it comes to this stuff too, because it does, like you said, it just gives you that perspective and time to really wrap your head around it beforehand. I've only had this thing for, 72 hours or something, but man, I've done everything with it. I mean, we're talking 30 different types of computers and handhelds and everything plugging into. Does it work on the Switch? Not at all, but I know that for a fact.
Yeah, no, I appreciate
that. And those are the kind of things that I probably wouldn't have done if I was just doing the embargo one. It's like, hey, get it out, Like a good example is the Analog 3D. That's that Nintendo 64 FPGA console, right? I was part of that embargo thing, and I hate that video that I made. I mean, it's a long video, it's in depth and stuff, but if I made that video today, I think it would be a different video because the context is different, and so I have to anticipate what everyone else is going to be focusing on and what would be important for me and stuff. And so I just make the video that's true to me, but at the same time, when the conversation's happening among everybody, then it gives us a little bit better perspective.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah.
Last thing real quick that was in my pocket that I want to talk about is that I had a little bit of back and forth with you. I was hoping to have this discussion on camera, but like I was like, man, I can't wait this long until the next episode. So I'm gonna switch over to this. I'm gonna call it the dweeb cam. Should I do that?
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's call it the dweeb cam. So this is my Game Boy Advance that I have swapped out the shell. I did the IPS mod. Yeah, like I love this smoky black look to it, right?
Especially in the back, yeah.
And then I got an Easy Flash cart, and it's that same exact smoky black kind of thing. So like from top to bottom, I was just like, oh, this is great. this is looking awesome. So yeah, I ended up after talking with you real quick and doing a bunch of research, I ended up getting the Easy Flash Omega Definitive Edition, whatever the nicest one is. And the first thing I'll say is that a lot of people, when I was looking between the two, or I'm sorry, I should say between the Easy Flash and the EverDrive, that so many comments, people were like, oh man, the build quality on the Easy Flash is junk compared to the EverDrive. Like, it's just so flimsy and yada yada. And I don't have an EverDrive, obviously. I bought the Easy Flash, but I was expecting to get this out of the box and be like, oh yeah, this thing's junk. I mean, like, could it be better? Sure. I don't know, but like, it's not bad. Like, I don't know what people are saying. Like, it doesn't seem to flex. Like this feels. And maybe they've done revisions or something, and I'm getting, an updated one. But like build quality, I have no problem with this.
Looks solid. Is it matte or glossy? Like the texture of the plastic?
It's matte. Well, actually, it's both. So yeah, the bottom of the cartridge here glossy, and then the top part matte, and then on the front here, the Easy Flash. Indentation is glossy, but yeah. So I mean, like I'm not like, it's not like it's flexing a ton. Like why do you think it has such a reputation for lower quality compared to the EverDrive?
There are a lot of EverDrive fans out there, so that might be part of it. Like it's just like, hey, this is the only one you can get. And it makes sense. Sorry, there's some sirens going on. It just stopped. But anyway,
coming for you, Russ.
Yeah. So yeah, I have the EverDrive. It's great. Quality's good. Everything's nice about it. I never got the Omega one of that, but I have the Omega DS one. And that one's good too. I really like the build quality of that compared especially to all the other like R4 and stuff. Like it's a step above, but it's super glossy. And that's why I was wondering, if it's also glossy. I don't mind it, being glossy. The thing with all these flash carts is like, I'm just going to slot it in. Like, I don't care about the quality at that point. Does it work? Is it going to, how's the interface and all that stuff? And I think it's just, none of them are perfect. It's all just kind of text-based, navigate through, pick your game and start it. It's the magic of the actual, ability to run all the games from an SD card. It's really cool.
Speaking of SD card, I will say, I'm going to switch back over here. The one thing that I did read that the EverDrive probably has a leg up over this Easy Flash is that getting that SD card out, at least for me, has been kind of hard. And from what I've heard, the EverDrive one has that nice little like a spring-loaded kind of thing.
Gotcha.
So this one is not spring-loaded, so I have to kind of like dig in there and rip out the SD card. So like, I mean, whatever, once I got it set up, it doesn't really matter. I'm just going to play the games, but yeah, it's been a fun little device. I will say the front end is not the most interesting, polished kind of thing.
I'm sure.
So, I mean, whatever. I wish you could customize it a little bit more, but like, how does that compare to the EverDrive front end?
It's all text based. And the worst thing is I have the worst habit of using my Mac to add these games, and then it adds all the they're called Apple double files. So it's like all those like dot hidden files that Mac will parse, because it wants to make quick look better or whatever. And so when you plug it in, it's like you got all these files you never want to see, and so
That's annoying.
Yeah, so you got to use like command line, like to get rid of them on a Mac, or you got to go and delete them off Windows. And it sucks because sometimes it'll go inside each of the subfolders too. So you're spending 20 minutes deleting those things. So again, command line things will take care of that. But
and
still,
Macs,
Yeah, Macs. And so, I mean, I use one all day, but still. And so that's one of the things too, is like, it's like insult to injury, because not only is it a text menu and it's kind of annoying, but then also I've got all those extra files I got to navigate around too.
Yeah, I like the other weird thing too is that they were like, oh yeah, if you download this extra little file on our website, you can load it onto the root, and then you get box art images, or I guess they didn't say box art images, they just said game images. And then they were like, oh yeah, just as you're scrolling down, hit the select button and it'll pop up the little art images, and all it is just like a screenshot of the beginning of the game. Like I don't have it on.
Right. So like the Nintendo logo.
No. Here, maybe I'll turn it on real quick. But yeah, no. It's the like the start screen of the game.
Oh, title page.
Yeah. There we go. That's a better word. So, you know what? I deleted it because I thought it was dumb. So it's not there anymore. But yeah, and then it So like it shows up in the lower right hand corner. So very tiny, and then all it is just the like the start screen. And I was just like, okay, I was hoping for box art, but I don't know, whatever. Maybe you can.
That is definitely an advantage of the like emulation handhelds, right? Is all the different front ends and like how you can just make it really pretty and stuff. But still, is the charm of using original hardware. Yeah,
utilitarian, I guess, if anything. So, Russ, we've been chatting for a while. So let's see. Maybe let's get to. Why don't we get to a couple Buyer's Corner questions, and then we'll get out of here.
Okay.
You okay with that? But first, let's go to one more break. All right, we got a couple questions, and the first one coming in from Mr. Pogue, Mr. Pogue 2, I guess, is asking about the AYN Thor. And I know we just talked about this, but like I want to double check on this question here. They say, I'm looking for advice with the AYN Thor because I plan on getting one soon. I plan on playing mostly DS and 3DS games with a bit of Vita, Switch, and light PC games on the side. Will 8 gigabytes of RAM be enough for Vita and up, or should I save up for a model with more RAM? I also plan on using HD texture packs with the games I'll play on the Thor. Should I get the 12 gig model AYN just announced, or should I get the 256 Pro and an SD card? So a couple questions in here. I mean, we've mostly covered the Thor Lite in depth, I think, on will it run, things like that. But I think specifically for me, I have never messed around with adding HD texture packs. Like, is that... I mean, other than obviously it's going to take up space on whatever storage you have, does that have any penalty for performance or DRAM usage? Or
it does, yeah. So it does pull more RAM and more GPU basically for HD texture packs. So yes, and their questions they're not kind of clear about it, but they are asking 8 gigabyte of RAM. They're asking about the regular model, not the Lite, because they're already talking about getting the Pro or the Max ones. And so my guess is they're not even thinking of the Lite. They're just thinking the Snapdragon 8 Gen 2.
Okay, sorry. I think I saw the 8 gig of RAM, and I knew the Lite had it.
Right. So HD texture packs for DS and 3DS will be just fine with 8 gigs of RAM, no problem there. If you're trying to use HD texture packs for PS2 and GameCube games, that's a little bit more rough. Still within the realm of possible. I've never seen anything that bogs down at 8 gigabytes of RAM on the Thor regular, the base they call it. And so it really is going to come into play with high-end PC games and high-end Switch games. We're talking Breath of the Wild, Xenoblade Chronicles, like those are rough with 8 gigs of RAM. 12 gigs is probably the sweet spot there. That's the Pro model. And so, it's hard to say. My advice usually, if you're looking between the base, which is 8 gigabytes, and the Pro, which is 12 gigabytes of RAM, and then the Max, which is after that 16 gigabytes of RAM, that's the one he mentions, the 512 gig model that just announced. So they now have a 1 terabyte and 5 gigabyte internal storage, but both with 16 gigs of RAM. So there's now 2 Max models.
Got it.
So there's a lot of spectrum there. My advice has always been get the base, unless you really want a better color. Then think about the Pro, because that opens up the colors, because the base is only black, like with the Lite. And then if you're just really going to go ham on trying to push it to its limits, the Pro is probably going to be good enough for everyone. I'm amazed at how many people buy the Max. I think it's just people min-maxing and being like, oh, future-proofing, and I have never seen, I got a 12 gigabyte Pro. I do this for a living. And I was like, why would anyone buy a Max, when I bought a Pro? So I just don't think we're there yet. 16 gigs of RAM, for me, it's just not warranting the price unless the storage is really important for you.
I mean, honestly, it kind of reminds me of when you talked with Mr. Dweeb last week about how they downgraded the storage solution the storage interface. And, people like on one side, I get it. It never feels good to take something away, right? When you're like, oh yeah, you know what? We used to give that to you. Now we're not giving it to you anymore. But then on the other side, does it matter? No. So, like, I think it maybe falls into that same kind of thing of like, do you really need 16 gigs?
Right.
No, it doesn't matter. But, I guess you can say you have it.
Yeah, it's a big price thing at this point, because the other thing to think about is like, okay, the Pro model, which is the one that 12 gigabytes of RAM, 256 gigs of storage, that's the one I have. But, I also have to put a micro SD card in that, and those are also expensive. You're going to spend $100 on a micro SD card or spend an additional $100 to get internal storage upgrades and also get additional RAM. So it's kind of like you got to find that balance there.
Yeah, so here's the other part, and I actually think this discussion is broader than just the Thor. I've always wondered, would you rather have 512 or whatever in a system, or half of that and you buy your own SD card kind of thing? Like once again, they're asking for here, but I think honestly the same thing applies for other handhelds as well.
Oh, yeah.
Would you rather have the biggest capacity internal storage, or do you want to get the a bifurcated situation?
Right. I personally on Android, I don't mind using a micro SD card. There's a little bit of delay, like so Nether SX2, that's a PS2 emulator. If you have your games loaded on an SD card, it takes a minute for them to show up on the screen when you first start up the app. Just not a minute. It takes 5 seconds, but there's a delay. Whereas if you have it internally, it just pops right up. Little things like that. Not enough for me to justify spending an additional amount of money on it. As a reviewer too, I do like to have a good amount of storage, because then I can just put all the stuff on the internal, and then I can not have to worry about which device has which card in it, like that kind of thing. I don't like having to swap around all the time. But as just a dude, like, yeah, I would go with lower storage and use an SD card when it comes to Android. The big thing with him in this question for Mr. Pogue too is that they ask about PS Vita emulation and whether or not that RAM is going to be enough. PS Vita is not limited by RAM. It's not limited by processor. It's limited by emulation compatibility. Like, it's just so raw and new that it's not a system I really emulate much. I don't even think I put it in my Thor starter guide, because I was like, just get a Vita. It's still a rough position. And so I'm not an authority when it comes to emulating Vita. It's probably been 4 months since I even booted a game up in that emulator, So yeah, it really will come down to storage size, and then RAM. 8 gigabytes will be fine, but think about colors, all the other kind of stuff. Texture packs should be fine.
What about shipping delays? Are they wildly different?
It's not clear on their website. It just says batch whatever is open, and then I'm assuming all the handhelds are under that batch. But I've got to think that the ones that are in less demand, that they have more of potentially, will ship faster. But there's no speculation. People used to go nuts about this stuff. Like when the first Retroid Pocket 2 came out, it was during the pandemic. People were like ordering colors based on which color they were going to be manufacturing that day, because Retroid had like a shipping dashboard up, And they'd be like, hey, today, March 31st, we're going to be making 100 blue models. And people would be like, oh, maybe they only have 88 orders in. So if I change mine from yellow to blue, they'll ship it out today. And people were doing this stuff,
I bet Retroid stopped doing that quick.
Yeah, exactly. And so I think they still actually do that.
Really?
But, yeah, they still have a shipping dashboard. And so AYN might too. They're like the same parent company. And so a lot of their stuff was very similar, like their websites and stuff. It's AYN Tech. I'm going to go to their website real quick and check. But yeah, so people have been doing this. Yeah, they have a shipping dashboard and it's by day. And it shows like every single day since February, they've been putting in diligently how many they've been creating and which orders they're fulfilling. They're planning on that day. And it's updated as of 5 days ago. So,
okay.
Yeah, it's crazy. So I don't know. They're a very small company, so they're like manufacturing on the fly. They're having to decide, do we make 100 bases? We make 100 pros? Like they have to figure all that stuff out as they're going. So hard to say. I don't think shipping is a thing that somebody should prioritize because it's gambling at that point, I think.
Okay. And then we have another question from Vinny22Chi. That's loving the show, guys. Please keep up the great work. Thank you. I'm looking for some advice on the most pocket-friendly device to play SNES, Game Boy Color, Game Boy Advance, N64, and PS1 games. Pocketability is the most important factor for me, so if I have to sacrifice some systems, that's fine. And by pocketability, I mean if it fits in the back pocket of my jeans, I'm good with that, or something I can throw in a sling bag. It could be a retro emulation handheld or a modded handheld or a modded original handheld. I also like the idea of a modded DSi after hearing you guys talk about it a few episodes ago. I'm currently using an Android phone, but I can only play certain games because of the touch controls. Also, they have an original copy of Advance Wars on GBA. They're a fellow Advance Wars lover. Boom. Yeah.
Nice. Beautiful.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I bet like through the course of doing all this stuff, like that's the game that I've been loading up on all these systems and playing just because I just love Advanced. Russ, you got to get in on it, man. Got to get in on it.
No, it's work. I don't know how you like it. Those games are work. They're math. You know what I mean?
It's not work. It's war. Okay.
Advanced work.
Yeah.
Good question. So the thing that's tripping me up is they put N64 in there. They want pocket friendly, and then they put N64, which is a hard device to emulate properly. And so you got to really push the power on that.
Oh, okay. Well, and also control too, right?
Yeah, I mean, you're going to need something with at least one analog stick, but primarily two, because you can map those to the C buttons on the second analog stick, which will work fine with most games. So you're looking at something like the Retroid Pocket Mini or the AYN Pocket Air Mini, which are not, they're smaller. They're 4x3, like smaller handhelds. Not something I'd throw in my back jeans pocket, And so it really comes down to how much you love Nintendo 64, because everything else up through PS1, no problem. You can play that on basically everything. And so the two I had, three really that I had in mind. The first was the Ambernic RG35XXH. Let me see if I can get this to play. Here we go. And so this is, so 3.5 inch screen, 4x3, 480p resolution, 2 analog sticks, horizontal device, and nice and thin. And so you can just slide this one in, slide it out. I've taken this with me on travel as well. So this is a good one, about $60.
Oh, yeah.
Nintendo 64 is like, you can play 50% of the catalog. So it really depends, are you looking to play GoldenEye? No. But if you're looking to play Mario Kart, yeah, no problem. And so it really depends on, if you're looking for a heavyweight game or just some of the lighter catalog stuff. Mario 64 will be great on this.
Okay.
So that's the one if you're looking for just like a slide in, slide out, and they said pocketability was most important. Then I would also consider clamshells. So the one I would recommend, also an Ambernic device, same chipset. This one is the 34XX SP. So this one is basically the size of a GBA SP. And it's made for Game Boy Advance more. It actually has like the 3x resolution upscale of the Game Boy Advance screen. So it's 3:2 aspect ratio, but it has analog sticks and same chip. So we can play, 50% of the catalog. But because it's 3:2, the screen's a little bit small. It's not, this is a 3.4 inch screen, but because it's wider, when you play 4x3 stuff on there, it's more like 3.1 or 3.2, a little bit squinty, but this has like kind of, that nice pocketability aspect, like just close it up, slip it in. This one's really nice. Then finally, if you are like full on like, I don't need Nintendo 64, then my recommendation would be the Mio Mini Flip. So this is that little one, smaller screen, 2.8 inches, no analog sticks, but my goodness, this thing is so small. So this is like my little baby, you know, like this is the one that I have in my backpack all the time. That I took it to, you know, CES and just pull it out and be like, oh, what do you do for a living? Boop, I pull these things out, you know? Yeah. And so that pocketability is great, but Nintendo 64, no. And
out the window.
Yeah.
What about the other systems? Fine?
Yeah. PS1 and below, fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so you're not gonna be able to play Ape Escape or Ape Escape as I call it on my channel because no analog sticks, right? But man, Super Nintendo, Game Boy Advance, like all that's gonna be great. And so it's kind of it's weird. Like I don't have one recommendation because it really like we have to kind of refine it a little bit better. You know, like what's the most important part here? You know, how big is Nintendo 64 for you? Yeah, I don't know. If you're really, if this person really loves Game Boy Advance too, mentioning Advance Wars, like then this 34XX has got that 3x resolution upscale of Game Boy Advance. This thing is like, this is the Game Boy Advance clamshell.
Yeah, I mean the thing I'm keying on in here too is the pocketability. I think it isn't just a size thing, but having that clamshell means that if you accidentally had something else in your pocket, or it gives it a little bit more protection. If like I don't know their use case, but I'm assuming they want something pocketable because they're going to be out and about doing something and just kind of, you know, wanting to whip it out when they have the ability to. And I just feel like the clamshell kind of angle, me personally, that's probably the way I would go.
Sure. Especially, you know, these are Linux-based handhelds. And so the operating systems you can put on these, all of them generally have support with a clamshell where when you close it up, it'll just put the device to sleep. And then after a few minutes, it'll actually shut itself off. And so I call that like the Jiffy Lube effect. Like you're in line for Jiffy Lube and then they call your name and you like run up there and you just close your thing up, throw it in your pocket and then go on, you know? And so that's one of the great things about these clamshells.
So I'm the other part of it too. Out of the three that you talked about, the Mio Mini Flip, is that right? That one actually seems to be the most expensive, even though it's the least capable one. Why is that?
Yeah. It's the newest one. So this one, usually around $60, $70 right now, sometimes $80. Depends on if you're getting on Amazon or whatever. The other ones are averaging around $50, $60, but then if there's a sale on AliExpress, then $50 will probably be more along the line. So yeah, it's just more about recency. And then Ambernick does a lot of like third-party distributions. And so they will lower the price for wholesale. And then the other people are like, you know, upcharging a little bit, but still even then it's very cheap. Whereas the Mio Mini Flip for the longest time was only sold by Mio. They were controlling the pricing for it. I think they've now started to distribute it a little bit more. But so these are things that just kind of have to trickle in. You know, by the end of this year, they'll probably all be similar pricing.
Okay. Yeah. So interesting. But please, Vinny, let us know in the either in the comments or get over on Discord again and create a thread on your question and you know, tell us what you got. That's part of the fun too. Is I really want to hear what people ended up getting, and if people want to hear those responses, let us know. I haven't been reading them because some people have, like the guy who was asking about the South Korean market pickup from a number of episodes ago, like did actually end up getting back to us in the Discord. I didn't bring it up here, so I don't know if people are interested to hear what people.
It'd be cool to kind of see the follow up. Yeah,
it's like the follow up to the buyers. It's like you're showing up to the corner and Russ is like, "Yeah, what you buying?" You know, and then he picks something up and then you go home and you get to tell people about it. But we're not telling people about it on the other end. So,
yeah,
you know.
I just finished that game a couple weeks ago, the remake. He doesn't say what are you buying the whole time. I was kind of disappointed. He says all sorts of other stuff, but he doesn't say, what are you buying? And I was like, that's like your thing, you know?
What? Really?
Yeah. He never said those specific words.
Wait, which version did you play?
PC. Yeah, Steam, the remake.
Oh, in the remake. Oh, okay. Sorry, I thought you meant the original, and I was just like,
"Oh no, the original." Is this it all day?
Yeah, I was like, wait, what is this called? When you Like everyone believes something happened.
Berenstain Bears thing.
Yeah.
Mandela effect. Yeah.
Yeah, the Mandela effect. Yeah. I was like, oh my goodness, did you just blow my mind here, Russ?
Right. No, in the new remake, they recorded all these new things. He says a variety of things, and he doesn't say, what are you buying?
Yeah. Okay.
What do you sell it?
Forgot about that. All right. Last thing before we wrap up here, Glowing Fosters. Hey, Russ, where are you with Castlevania Symphony of the Night?
I had prepared I had prepared remarks for last week, and then you weren't here. And so I kind of stopped. Like I'm stuck again, so I didn't get to the second castle stuff.
I know where you're stuck.
I got to show you a map.
Yeah, I bet I know where you're stuck because I actually got stuck as well. And I was like, wait, where am I supposed to go right now? And then I had to look it up, and I was like, oh, I forgot about that stupid. The clock. Did you do anything with the clock?
No, I didn't do it. I remember that now. There's something with the clock. I never did anything with it. Yeah.
Like you haven't done anything with the clock at all.
No.
Okay, no. So that's where you're stuck.
Okay,
that's where I got.
Because I got my mist. I like went into those areas. I'm like, okay, this is the next thing. Get my mist, go through, and like, oh wait, this isn't what I needed. Okay. The map is like almost fully unlocked too. You know what I mean? Like at least as far as the parts I can see. So. Clock. Okay. I will continue my search. Yeah. But yeah, I haven't played it in about a week, unfortunately.
So like, yeah, I slowed down. I haven't played it either because I kind of suspected that you slowed down a little bit. But yeah, I got stuck on that one. And also I was like, man, as I keep playing, I keep realizing that I just want to play this on a TV. Like it's so weird for me. Like this just feels like a TV game. Mm-hmm. I don't know, but like it's almost kind of like Silent Hill. Like I love Silent Hill so much, and then I've tried to play it on emulation, and I'm just like, I can't play Silent Hill on the handheld. What are you dumb? I mean, well,
that's hilarious.
Okay. There was the Silent Hill one that came out on the Vita, whatever. That's different, but like Silent Hill 2, I'm not going to play on handheld.
That's hilarious. Yeah, yeah. To be honest, I went deep in the Resident Evil 4 rabbit hole. I finished all of that, and then now I'm on Pragmata, and so that's all my time. I just checked last night. I'm at 10 hours, and it's supposed to be an 8-hour game. I'm halfway through the game. I am just going.
I don't think it's
slow.
supposed to be 8 hours, is it?
That's what the initial reviews, like if you go to Time to Beat, it was showing 8 hours and stuff,
Huh. Wow.
But
okay.
Yeah, like
I'm taking too long too as well.
Yeah. I'm going back to old maps and trying to complete things, doing some of those red key challenges and stuff. So yeah, I think there's 4 major areas, maybe 5 major areas. I just to finish the second major area.
Okay, nice. Sweet. Then let's wrap it up so we can go home and play some video games. I just realized I don't know when the last bus leaves, but I am worried that I actually missed the last one that I need to hop on. But here, you know what? I'm looking at the map. We got the treasure map here. We're not quite there yet. We got a little bit more to go, unfortunately. So, rest up. To take a load off, stay hydrated. What was it that Mr. Dweeb said last week? He said something really good too, and I totally forgot.
He had a really good one. I can't remember what it was.
Man, yeah. Oh, charge up your devices. That's what it was.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was like, oh man, how did we not think of that?
We're amateurs.
Yeah. Jeez. So yeah, charge up your devices, bring a battery, just so you can top it off. And we will be back next week with another edition of Expedition Handheld. If you want to watch us, go over on YouTube at the Full Nerd Network, or we're on Spotify as well. But if you want to listen to the audio version, we're anywhere you can point your RSS feeds to. If you want to check out a PC related podcast, I host the Full Nerd. If you want to hear me and Will talk about Linux or adventures learning Linux, check out Dual Boot Diaries. Definitely check out Retro. I mean, come on. Like, do I need to say that? Like, I feel like everybody here already is subscribed to Russ.
You never know.
But you should definitely subscribe to Russ's newsletter because there are more words. But Russ, I still feel like I need more words, Russ. Like,
dude, the last issue was 2,800 words. Because I'm shooting for 1,500. I almost doubled it And so, yeah, no complaints.
It just doesn't feel enough, Russ. I need more Russ words.
I like had to take the night to do that. Like I'm sitting in the laptop watching a movie, and it took me a whole night to write that thing up. So I don't know how much more
I'm not trying to give
you
extra work. I'm going to try to give you extra work. But if you feel the drive, I feel like I could read more Russ.
I appreciate it. Yeah, and I love all my readers. Like it's I'm having a lot of fun with it. Totally new medium, not new, but it's like an old medium that I'm back at. Like writing again, and so I love that. So yeah, definitely check out the newsletter. I'm having a lot of fun.
I've also joked around with, because Elena writes our full nerd newsletter, and I've always joked around with her, and I'm going to make this joke with you too. At some point, you need to collect a certain grouping of newsletters and physically print them like zines or zines or however you want to pronounce it, zines, so that you get a retro game cord zine, and then you pay somebody and you mail it to them.
Mail it out. Yeah. Yeah, I used to have a lot of those in the 90s, the punk rock ones and stuff.
Right. Yeah. So, maybe that's a whole new market, right? Newsletters as zines, however you want to say it.
Makes sense.
Yeah. Anyways, Russ, thank you. Glad to be back in the saddle. Thanks for chatting with me. This was fun. I feel like we could go on forever, but we need to stop. I'm tired. I'm out of breath. And we'll see you next week. So
yeah. Bye guys.